So now, Sir has already introduced our guest, that is Dr. Prerna Sahani. I like, to talk about more. She is MBA in Marketing and Branding. She's done PhD on Emotional Intelligence and Print Media Management. She's a journalist. She's a news editor at Dainik Bhaskar, head at City Bhaskar. Dr. Prerna Sahani is associated as a news editor with India's largest circulated newspaper. Professionally, she's a management graduate, but journalism and mass communication is her passion. She's also a TEDx speaker and also a soft skills trainer. So let me also invite Mr. Prateek Agarwal. He's Executive Director, BNI Jaipur North and Startup Investor, to please now take over the conversation with ma'am. Please.
Thank you so much, Lavina. Thank you.
Welcome, ma'am. It's our pleasure to have you so that you can guide us more and tell the inside and outside of the industry as you being a part of it. So can you just share your story, how it all started? Were you in your starting only you thought about to being a journalist, or you were doing something and then it took over it? Can you just share a small walk down?
Yeah, of course, I would love you to delve into my story deeper. The only thing is that, while I was doing my MBA and specializing in marketing and branding, I had never thought of journalism as a career. Yes, I was an avid debater and I did a lot of stuff in terms of writing, but never ever it occurred to me that journalism would be my career and it would be, like a dream come true. It was something that probably destiny handed over to me, and I accepted it with an open, heart and open arms. That ways. So while I was doing my MBA in marketing, so suddenly, during the second year of my marketing, Dainik Bhaskar had forayed into Rajasthan and specifically in Jaipur. And it was a time that they got in touch with me because I was, of course, a gold medalist in MBA as well. So, yeah, so I was identified. And then I had been called to take care of their research and development section, that because they wanted to understand more about the reader's psyche and, what they really want in terms of the news and the content, which, of course, really mattered at that time. So I became the part of this beautiful project. I had no other experience in journalism, and this was a kind of project that, of course, is pertinent to management because you have to do a lot of product research and stuff. So I was introduced, and slowly and gradually, when I passed my MBA, then I got associated with Videocon and Samsung, taking care of marketing. But then at the same time, on Sundays, I used to work for Dainik Bhaskar. And that too because, I used to suggest them strategies for branding and marketing, those small notes that they could do. And they took it very nicely and they executed it. And slowly and gradually, the managing director himself, who's the owner as well. So he said that, why don't, you think of editorial as a career? So I said that it's very difficult for me to think, of writing in Hindi because I've always written in English. So he said that, see, that's something that, it's a mother tongue and it will come naturally to you once you start going deeper into it. So the moment, he told me that it's not something to be proud of because, I did my schooling from Sofia and therefore speaking in Hindi, we were fined. So, when you're groomed in that particular environment wherein, you're fined for speaking in Hindi unless and until it is your Hindi period. So there are things that go the other way around. So I learned Hindi. And of course, when it was my first assignment, that is, the first beautiful project that was handed over to me was a career and youth magazine. And there, when I wrote in Hindi for the first time, of course, we had reporters and stuff. There were bottlenecks. There were a lot of mistakes, that he had marked. Of course, it did not go to the print. But then they taught me how to self-analyze the mistakes, how to read more and more in Hindi and to develop, because I was very good in observing and understanding the reader's needs. But at the same time, when it comes to the editorial board, you really have to put yourself in the other shoe and then write. So that is how slowly and gradually Dainik Bhaskar had been my university and it groomed me where I am today, and I am deeply indebted. But at the same time, I'm very happy because, they never let me stop learning, because after doing my MBA, I did my MCOM in pharmacy and MBA, the PhD pertinent to this in emotional intelligence and print media management from Rajasthan University. So all these things I did while I was doing my journalism. And, for journalism, it's never a 9 to 5 job or a 5 to 9 job, any way around. It is a 24/7 job that ways. So it, of course, is a perishable product. If you don't crack a story today and now, it will be gone forever. So there are a lot of things that, you have to have an edge on, and you have to really hone your skills to be there perfectly.
Wow, so it seems like a lot of opportunities are being opened for our audience, as they are from the one of the
Management
top leading B
background.
school of management
Yeah,
background,
why
top
not?
leading B school, and so you are also from the same. And after that, you have taken a turn around in totally different sector, and that only you have become an excel in that. You have become a role model for all of us, and still you are continuous learning, like you told, after being on the post, and like your company helped you a lot, and still you are doing lots now also. That's amazing, man.
Mhm.
So
Thank you so much. Yes.
one of the thing which we love to know from you, like you mentioned, it's a 24/7 job. So that
Mhm.
means your biological cycle and social circle and
Is
all
all
gone
gone for
for
a
a
toss.
toss.
Yes, absolutely. It is there. This, but I'll tell you, Pratik, that there are certain sacrifices that, of course, everything has an opportunity cost. But then slowly and gradually, your friend circle and your family, of course, it cannot work. This entire model of journalism cannot work unless and until there is a strong support by your family. So even, when I was when I was on assignments, I had been to this America for an assignment, for to Hong Kong also for an assignment. And that was, at that hour when my daughter had her final examinations. So my husband, he had to take care, and he had to prepare her for everything. So, there are little things that don't seem, big for us, but they're very, very big support systems that are functioning behind our back that ways. And you rightly said, see, once you're groomed in management, I think you can take on just anything. If you just take this very, very seriously, there's so many things that will involve management skills. And why journalism is that I would have limited myself, just to a very specific industry like education, or maybe electronics or white goods stuffs and stuff. But then, through journalism, I'm connected to so many things. I'm connected to the business houses. It enables me to connect to all industries, all kinds of people, and you learn so much in the process. So you're not just restricted to one thing, but you're exposed to the whole world that ways.
So, okay, so one of the questions which comes to my mind, before that, I will ask all the audience, whatever questions are coming to your mind, just type on the Q&A section so that we will take it with the ma'am. Whatever questions which comes to your mind, just type them. Today, we are going to hear from ma'am herself, whatever things she can share from the experience she has. So one of the questions which comes is, you being as a female, as a journalist. So right now you are heading two things. One is your family, and second is the other family, the official family, or
Yeah.
Dainik Bhaskar. So, and we got to know about journalists. There is no biological cycle. It's totally mismanaged. Your social circle is mismanaged. So, what you do?
I'll
I'm
not
so much
say,
curious
Pratik,
to
it is,
know.
mismanaged. I'll say it's differently managed, or, it's not as per your management hours. We have to really hone whatever we have, whatever little time we have, and it's differently managed. It is definitely not mismanaged. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been where we are today. Yeah. So, yes, you talked about the gender issue. I think that is what you would like to address as well. And a lot of people think that way. Now, like, career in aviation, that doesn't really know whether the person, know a plane. If you know any plane or an aircraft, do let me know. But I think that there's no aircraft that knows whether it's been flown by a male or a female pilot. Similarly, no, none of the news knows that, who's covering it, whether it's me or a male reporter or a very seasoned journalist. News has its own language, it has its own vocabulary, but yes, in that vocabulary, gender doesn't play a role. And, I was in a discussion over this subject only, the gender discrimination in the world of journalism. And they were all female journalists from very, very, very big names in the media. But then they had one issue, yes, which is one issue that, you don't get really promoted to that level where you can actually take a very good decision and all. But, and you need a female team or a female editor to understand you and to push you where you want to be. But in my case, I've never got a female boss, never, ever. And there has been no male boss who has ever restricted, who has nipped my wings and told me that no, it cannot happen because you're a female. This has not happened. So I've been very fortunate, or I think they have been very kind and liberal with their thinking and very progressive. Because I think, see, if you have a male reporter who's covering crime, perfect, right? The problem comes when you think that why can't a female reporter cover crime? Of course, they can do equally. If you have an interest, I'll tell you about one of our reporters, Lucky Jain, who in Udaipur, I think it's been more than 7-8 years that she's been covering crime and beautifully covering crime. So that's okay. But it's not like covering the different beats that's important, but what new and different. See, being a woman, I think you have, like 2 X factors that's biologically given and genetically given. So I think they have an advantage here of having an extra edge, extra X factor. So when you have been given that extra edge, why do you want to be one of those reporting cycles? Why don't you be something that you're cherished for, that you're known for, that you have a kind of a USP of your own? Probably, you can make a crime story into something which is more engaging, not fictitious, but very engaging. So there, I think, and seriously, none of the news knows that it has been covered by a female or a male. And it's just there in our mind. See, if we have a mindset that, if we wear the glasses like, there is going to be a kind of gender division or maybe, a bias towards gender, then you would always be subject to all those stuff. When you consider your merit to be more powerful than your gender, then definitely your merit becomes everything else for you. That way. Did I answer your question, Pratik?
Very nicely answered, ma'am. In fact, it was an eye opener because 2 of the career, if you talk about aviation and journalism, so a lot of the time when we talk about to the youth and all, it comes to the mind, the gender bias come, whether it is good right for a female to be there or not. But it's an eye opener, like you rightly said. Who is driving? Who is the pilot? We don't know whether she is a female or he's a male, and who has written the news? We don't know. It's just we can read and we can feed. So it's very rightly said. So that means if somebody wants to have a career in journalism, it's most welcome for male and female both. And whichever stage of life you are, whether you are a class 12 student, you are doing a post-graduation, graduation, if you want to be a journalist, that this is the time for you. Don't wait for that time will come. Somebody will invite you there.
I think with the mobile in our hands, all of us are actually journalists. We are writers, we are creators, we are content developers. It's such a beautiful and powerful tool that we have in our hands. And I think, even if it's Shashi Tharoor, why don't you tweet something to him, in terms of a question, in terms of a comment, and see the response, or write, start with your own Twitter handle, see what you're writing about. That way, it's all there. The web is just open world for you. So you can start the little stuff from there and move on.
So I'm also a management graduate, but what I'm feeling right now is how you have gripped the Hindi newspaper, being from a convent educated and all. It's like somebody, if I'm a Hindi medium guy and somebody asks me to read and edit Sanskrit, it will be like how I will do it. The way you have captured it, it's amazing, ma'am. And to start, and then also you joined at a level of marketing in the organization, whether you have joined from bottom of the pyramid in that particular division and reached to the top. That's an amazing
that's why, Pratik, there is a growth that I see, because I have learned so many skills thanks to Bhaskar, and I'm deeply indebted to them. So similarly, see, even this beautiful place that is Taxila, The way you everything, for everyone, the lectures would be the same, these interactions would be the same, but what you carry is your personal experience. Like supposing if I'm talking to you, Pratik, so whatever I am learning from you is going to be just mine. It will add on to my repertoire of knowledge and experience, and it is, and I would be the sole responsible person to carry it forward. So I think all the students also who are there in the audience side, I cannot see them, of course, but then I think even those little things, they can really pick up and they can make their own bouquet. Yeah, Pratik.
Right. Very rightly said. Acha, one of the biggest challenge till now you faced as a journalist in your journalism career, one of the biggest challenge.
I'll not say it has been a challenge, but then, once sometimes, there are certain assignments wherein you are given an assignment which was supposed to be someone else's assignment, and you do it exceptionally well. That really becomes sometimes a little bit of a problem. That is there. I would not go into details, but then yes, one of my editors had given me a very, very challenging and a very secretive assignment to get an interview, which was not possible for all very, very senior journalists. And it came out to be very well. And of course, my management skill and my Sophia background, that helped me a lot. And it transformed into a state level and a national level story. In fact, a movement that they started. That ways. But then slowly and gradually, if it's a one-time thing, yes, there are problems and challenges that you will see that acha theek hai, galti se ek baar kar liya hoga. Lekin when you're consistent on that, and you give superlative performance every time, everywhere, on every opportunity that is given to you, then they also start accepting you. There is a problem in accepting. I think it's for both the genders, irrespective of whatever the people say. But I think, there are challenges, but then your consistency is a very big answer to those challenges. Even if it's a challenge in perception, it's okay.
So just like the quote comes, consistency is the art of mastery.
Yeah, absolutely. Very rightly said.
So tell me one thing, ma'am, you being on the head of the position, so there may be some news, like I am working for you, I will bring some news to you. It may be right or wrong. So how you take that decision, whether this is the right one or not, you should report it or not, what conviction or intuition it is, how you decide that? So
first of all, you have to be, yes, the thing is that, when we talk of news, see, if it is not new, it is not news at all, right? So if it is old, if it's a stale piece of work, you as an editor have to be very, very alert about whether it has been published anywhere, or whether that, okay, fine, there can be, n number of stories, like we are seeing that, we are going through this corona crisis. So everybody has the information. Everybody has the raw data. How many cases, what is happening where. But then what you draw out of that data, that information, is your USP. So even if it's a published news, but you have a very different angle to it, then it becomes very, very relevant. And yes, an editor has to read more number of newspapers, more number of write-ups in the news magazine to be aware of. It is not really intuition. It is more like, you're more reading, your literacy in that particular field. Now, naturally, supposing if you are taking care of the entire BNI, so you would be, of course, chiseling every information that is relevant to your industry, right? So similarly, we should be aware, more or less, about whatever is happening in the field of information, and how we organize it. It is up to us. For example, there's like Corona times. I'll just give you an example. Like there was a movie called Contagion. Now this Contagion is very much relevant in today's time, because it tells you how to handle with not only the virus, handle the virus, but also, how prepared you should be to handle the misinformation that is going viral, that is more viral than this virus Corona itself. So that, of course, became something which was relevant, because that was in 2011 that this movie was released. But Contagion as a movie is relevant even today. So you have to dig out the things that are relevant, in terms of doing a story. Similarly, supposing, if today there is a story in Dainik Bhaskar, which is talking about what is happening to the ladies who are pregnant and who are scheduled for deliveries during this time period. Now then it becomes a very interesting angle. Everybody knows that, okay, so and so children, how many children are being born every day during this time of corona crisis. But then how are the hospitals equipping themselves? Like, how many attendants are they allowing? Who is taking care, and how do they ensure that the baby that's born is not a COVID positive case, or the mom is not a COVID positive stuff? So if you delve deeper into the layers and the dimensions of what can be covered in terms of a story, I think that is the entire scenario of journalism, which is working towards it. Yes. But yeah, giving hope amidst that fear as well.
Yes. Ma'am, during the whole course, how do you really handle the sensitive writers around? They might question each and every write-up you come up with, or maybe each and every edit you make, because you have a lot of critics around. So how do you really handle them?
So sometimes, yes, because the best part is that, the critics, they write to the editor, the senior editor, the state editor, and they also tag us personally. They have our numbers, because the numbers are readily available at the reception as well. So, they text us independently. And yes, wherever they are right, and if we have to publish even a corrigendum, we don't shy, in doing. Of course, we have to be very, very sure about what we are writing. But yes, there are issues. There are issues related to, religious and social sentiments where people get offended easily. So even if your news is very newsworthy and it is factually correct, but then there are sentiments that can really take it to a very different level altogether. There can be a very negative reaction to whatever you have written. So yes, we have to be sensitive towards a reader. And, there are certain readers, supposing we print just a small instance where we can go wrong. Supposing, there was somebody did not share, the organizers did not share the last minute update on any timing of a major public function, say music in the park or something like that, and we fail to publish that particular thing, then what will happen is that there would be so many readers, including people who are sick or people, who are senior citizens, who would venture into that place to attend that particular program, but they'll not be able to, and they'll feel very offended. And of course, they give very, very bad remarks, which of course they'll not understand that it was not our mistake, but the organizer did not update the timings on time that ways. So there are challenges, but then I think that's why I chose this subject, emotional intelligence, because it really tells you how to deal with such issues in such conflicting situations. Yes. And I think that was the seed of my PhD as well, Lavina.
Yeah, ma'am, coming to your PhD, I really heard that you really went through a very tough time when you were doing your PhD. Can you please share your experience here with us?
Very tough time, as in, because, there was hardly any literature available, because normally you have these references, that are available. But because probably there was never a PhD done on this kind of a subject, and that too relating it to management, you might have it in psychology, but the print media, as well as connecting it with emotional intelligence, which is a psychological delving into the theory, it was not really possible. And for literature, I really had to, I think I was also in, because of course, I took more than 5 years to complete it, because getting my hands on the right kind of people, the experts and all. But yes, then my ma'am, my faculty from my college, Triple M, of course, she came like, a blessing in disguise, and she helped me a lot. That is Dr. Tanjul Saxena. Then I had a lot of course, my big role to play was, of course, of my guide, Professor R.K. Dixit, then Professor Harsh Zavedi, and then a lot of people, they help, Professor Ramesh Arora. So all these people, they kind of helped me and guided me. And yes, we were able to come up with something that is really worthy. And I just have, yes, that reminds me that I have to put it into a book form. Thank you, Lavina, for getting me to speak on this. It also brings me to this thing that yes, you have to really publish what you have done and make it more relevant with Pulitzer awardees and stuff. So yes, things that, and but I'll tell you one thing, that more challenging your PhD is, the more you learn in the process, because there's so many things that you have to dispose of and discard while you're looking for something which is not available, through net, or maybe ordering for books from abroad. But yes, it pays at the end. Absolutely.
Absolutely. Ma'am, there are a few questions actually coming up from my students, and they really want to know like how important it is for you to be ethical in the field you are. Because, as a journalist, like, ethical platforms are very crucial. What's
Very
your...
true. Ethics is something that's basically all you have in terms of your credibility. If you're not, ethical in your dealings with people, because you just think about it, that there would be so many people who would be interested in getting their news published, and they might use some unfair means, or sometimes they even threaten, or they kind of lure you. But then if you don't have a very strong backbone, then you will be treated like a doormat by anybody and everybody who walks in. So yes, if your ethical standards are high, I think that is communicated readily. And if your ethical standards are low, that's also communicated in the society readily. So this spreads actually. And this word of mouth has really helped me, because, this is always been a forte of mine, to deal with it very, very ethically and with a lot of honesty and integrity. If you're not honest, it will show in your work. Suddenly you'll see that you're favoring a particular organization or a particular brand. It never happens in our newspaper that ways. So did I answer your question, Lavina?
Yes, ma'am, you did. Just a second, ma'am. Yeah. Ma'am, there is one more question coming from our students who would like to know that how Indian citizens are living in a world of misinformation, because of, big media houses. What is your opinion on the same? Is this misinformation also playing an important role in misguiding?
Yeah, and I think, yes, very true. And I think all of us are important links of it. See, if you think that, because they are manipulating the information, like you're seeing that, on social media platforms also, there is a video from somewhere else, but because there is a particular scenario which is also talking about this malicious environment, so they try to fit in the news, they try to just, modify certain things, and morphologically also it is quite possible, because technology, of course, has its virtues and the vices. So there is, but what you are forwarding, as a medium, that also plays a very important role. If you nip that in bud, then definitely it's not going to spread. All of us cannot really determine what, is it real or it's fake, but at least we can prevent it from spreading, unless and until we are short about it, that it is true. That's ways. So I think the source is very, very important. And you should not invest your trust in just any Tom, Dick, and Harry source. Let it be a reliable and a validated source of information for you. Because then when you talk about it on a public forum, it reveals your level of understanding and your responsibility as a citizenship also to disseminate that kind of an information.
Right. But, as a consumer, as a reader, it becomes really difficult for us to segregate which is genuine and which is not. So what's your, I would say, your comment?
I think, there's something which is, of course, your knowledge and your experience, definitely, with time, your faith is something when how you trust a kind of a source of information. Like, why do we trust ANIs and PTIs or the Press Information Bureau? It's because we know that these are genuine and validated sources. So that is where you really have to investigate on. If it's coming from any, if it's a social media stuff, I think, because, there we are facing the maximum challenge, because every time, we have to prove that, this is fake and this is viral, and there are different segments that have been taken out by the various media houses that will tell you that, from where this, and, even from Google, by using certain tools in Google also, you can identify which news is fake and which is not. So the best thing is that, trust your experience and trust the old established brands because the new brands that are emerging, they might be good, but, at least watch them for certain span of time, see whether they are giving you accurate information or not, and then use your discretion to propagate any news or to limit it to yourself that ways. So I think it's more of like a personal intelligence and awareness that you'll have to go by. Yes, it's a very, very big challenge. Definitely. For a layman, it is.
Yeah. Prerna ma'am, since you are from media industry, you are so well informed and aware, right? What kind of fix and changes do you really see after this pandemic is over?
Now that's something, that's basically a very, very dark area. But I think a lot of things are going to change because I was just listening to a conversation by the managing director and CEO of Unilever. So he said that, I hope it's a V shape and not an L shape economy that we are foreseeing, because the GDP is going to have a lot of negative impact. And a V-shaped economy is something that recovers, after the pandemic is over. But a lot of changes in our way of dealing will also change. For example, socially, if we see a lot of changes that are going to happen, probably we'll take more care about our personal hygiene and safety, because life has suddenly become the first and the foremost priority for all of us, and loved ones have become the priority for all of us again, because we were just running and blindly running in a race, and this hour has given us time to stop and reflect on what we were losing. Secondly, I think technology will come in a very big way. It's lovely, like platforms like Taxila have also explored Zoom and brought all of us from different zones together. So I think technically also home-based learnings or, business meetings, less of travel around, unnecessary travel around, then taking care of resources that we have, being very, very cautious about the consumption side. There are certain decisions that were impulsive earlier. So now the decisions would be more conscious rather than impulsive. We are thinking long term, because there's a lot of insecurity around in terms of jobs and professions and health, etc. Health would, of course, take first stage. And in terms of the employees also, we will, of course, have to be very, very careful and very sensitive towards the needs of employees. So the employers are going to change tremendously and exponentially. They'll become more caring about the consumers as well as the internal customers, so that whatever is the most productive and effective solutions, they can be worked out together. It will be more like a family, because now also you see that a lot of conversations are going on these technological platforms. So a lot of changes in the learning and performing forums would be there. Performance appraisals would be shifted that ways. Probably because, how do you appraise a performance when there is a lockdown? How do you set the production cycle rolling when there is a lockdown? How do you stimulate purchases when there's a lockdown? So a lot of things, we always read about the contingencies in management. Now, this kind of a contingency is something that the companies will have to really prepare for.
Ma'am, during the situation of COVID-19, since everybody is working from home, I think they have enough time to devote in their own areas, if expertise, in fact. And if somebody is interested in writing an article for a newspaper and want to get it published, what kind of series of action would you recommend to a person?
I think, for a newspaper, because, there are certain news magazines or a pullout or a supplement that are there. For example, we have Rasrang and Madhurima, and there's a Young Bhaskar and stuff. So because newspapers, either, the columnists, very, very senior columnists, they write the write-ups for us, the articles for us, or it is a newsy material for which our journalists, they give all the inputs and then their stories. For the inputs from the students and the common readers, etc., they're different platforms and they're all available online. So always there is either a letter to the editor or submissions to the editor, and there is a mail ID that is given. So anybody can do that. And yes, we should use this lockdown period to develop new skills. So because the habit formation cycle is of 22 days, 21 days, like that. So I think you can really pick up a new habit during this time and hone your skills, something that's available through online classes or something like that. Yes,
Hmm.
Lavina.
Yes. How will you really guide the future journalist? I mean, I really want your guidance to be given to our students who would like to become maybe a journalist or maybe an editor for that matter. What kind of, what's your opinion?
I think the students out there, they're already journalists, and in fact, we're all learning. We're all learners, and we're all students. So I think technically they're very very sound. So I think they can write on. They can start with the Instagram stories, maybe quarantine stories or something like that on their platforms. See what is the response of people, and explore more dimensions in that. So they can start from social media, and then they can venture into their own vlogs or blogs, and slowly and gradually they'll of course get a grip on everything that they want to write on, because they have to first understand what are they passionate about.
Yes. Over to Prateek, sir.
Okay, so ma'am, so the few more questions I want to ask, like if the students want to start the career in journalism, so what is
Mhm.
the right age from the school they need to decide, which like we generally do, or after
No,
college,
see,
or what it is?
see, there is that I think is available absolutely on the internet and everywhere, But yeah, during school days, they can really start writing, because most of the subjects, they give you a platform for creative writing and stuff, or article writing or something like that. So I think they can start from there, and thereafter there's so many different colleges where they can go after their 12th. Like IMC is very very well known. There are different colleges where which they can pick up, and they can also go in for professional writing also, probably architecture or interior designing or engineering or medical professionals, or the medical transcriptionist, stuff like that. So the writing skill should be perfect. So you have to first understand what is your area of specialization that you want to choose, and then so Pratik, will have to really wind
Yeah,
up the
last question.
session.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just last question. What is your best discipline routine to beat work stress?
I don't have any stress. Absolutely. My daughter and a little creativity and stuff, it keeps the stress away. Stress is again something very subjective, it's whether you want to have the cup of tea of stress, or you just want to enjoy
Don't
it.
want to have it.
Yeah. So it's your decision. You take it or don't. So just deny this. There's nothing like stress. And if there is stress, it's something that, probably kicks you to perform better, not to just plateau and decline, like we have in our product life cycles, that suddenly we have a growth, we have a plateau, and we decline. Don't let that plateau come that leads to a decline. Keep learning. There'll be no stress, and whatever gives you a lot of fun and pleasure, you should do that with the best people that you have, positive people around you. I think that will keep the stress away. That's it.
Thank you, ma'am. So I would like to close on the note. I would like to share two quotes, one in English and one in Hindi. So one is before Prerna ma'am joined the media industry, and one is after she joined the media industry for the Hindi one.
Mhm.
So here it comes. Either write something worth reading or do something worth writing. या तो आप कुछ
Hmm.
ऐसा करो जिसको लिखो जो पढ़ने के लिए आए, या फिर कुछ ऐसा करो जिसके बारे में लोग लिखें. And
Very
in the
nice.
Hindi, the quote comes, जो कलम सरीखे टूट गए, जो कलम सरीखे टूट गए पर झुके नहीं, उनके आगे दुनिया शीश झुकाती है. जो कलम किसी कीमत पर बेची नहीं गई, वह तो मशाल की तरह उठाई जाती है.
क्या बात है, क्या बात है. Very, very nice.
Thank you, ma'am. Thanks a
Thank
lot.
you so
Thanks a
much.
lot.
Thank you.
We all, it was a great inspiration for all of
Thank you,
us. From
Pratik.
behalf of all the students from the Taxila, I would like to thank you a lot.
Thank you
Thank
very
you so
much.
much, Prerna
Thank you.
ma'am. Thank you for
Thank
being
you.